You're screaming at those officers.
Yeah, let's get your energy, guys.
You gotta be way louder than that.
You go on YouTube and check if we get audio.
This one now? But how can you get the latest one? Okay, quickly. No?
My name is Simran. I'm on the website team.
Where is Mohita?
My favorite team.
She's a team advisor.
She's out today. Oh, we knew it. That's why we did it. Karen was supposed to be, she's sick.
Okay, good.
We're live now.
Okay, good. Is everybody covered? Let them cover. Go to kids.
Me. My name is Samra and
It's just covering her.
No, this is one change. It's behind us.
Watch it.
Just tell me if it's you.
yeah.
Could you listen to audio?
You got any? Oh, sorry.
This is behind, right?
Watch it like this.
Rajvi, can you please sit down? We're doing live. I cannot select it. Put your back down, beta. In the back and
Where?
under.
If you speak loud and clear.
That's it. Your
It's your favorite game.
We're good.
And the what?
share the. Can you give me link? I'll share with the team then.
Agam, what's your favorite game?
I'll give you.
Let him do that now. You should be concentrating on this. Change it to her.
But this
Somebody's there.
you can fix it because he's gonna keep moving.
The mad face? We should.
I can't reach there.
Yeah.
And I'm on the talent team. My favorite TV show is Storybox.
Storybox? You said you had a favorite song too. You want to say it?
It's actually Kristen.
Oh, it's just Storybox.
You can sit down.
Yeah, then we can frame.
Are you want me to present standing or sit down?
I think sit down was better.
Sit down is
If
better.
you already set it up for sit down.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna come just to give a little introduction. Is she? That's not a close up on her.
Everybody's
Move this
live,
kid
so everybody
on the
should
side.
be very nice.
Can you sit over here?
Just. What are you covering? This is good. Oh, sorry. You can see her workshop too. Yeah, this is good.
It's okay. You can sit.
Okay, go back to the white shot.
Do you want me to put
So I'm gonna leave it on white shot now.
This is good, huh?
I'm gonna leave it on this one. You.
I'm gonna put like the logo.
We don't have the Punjabi test.
Okay, but we are here for Taylor's workshop.
So you guys know what Facebook Live is or YouTube Live? What happened to YouTube Live?
James, we're talking.
You
You have to move from there, James. Come here.
So if
can't retake it.
we behave good today, right now, it will show we are behaving good. That's what I like. Anyway, welcome to our first interview workshop, talent workshop. So this workshop is done by our talent team. So for the audience, the people who are watching our Nishkam TV, we have 7 different teams. We have around 55 kids who are part of Nishkam TV team. We have 7 teams. Talent team, this team is responsible for hosting interviews, doing roundtables, and they love acting too. So when we do narrative or we do a fiction film, they can act into that. So anybody who's interested in talent component of the filmmaking, they can be part of the talent team. Then we have production team. So production team is the one who's producing this program. They are these guys behind this camera. There's a camera here. There are 3 or 4 cameras, the lighting. They're responsible for shooting this show. Then they will edit it and then they will show it to the world. That's the job of our production team. Then somebody is responsible for writing scripts. Somebody has to write a story, isn't it? So somebody write a story. That team is called our content team, or the content or script writing team. So then we have a team. Do you guys know we have a website?
Yes.
And what's the web? Nashkamtv.tv. So we have a team who's managing our website. So if you go to www.nishkam.tv, that website is managed by our kids. Then we have our social media team, and we have Meher right now in this room. They are responsible for our social media presence. They are on Instagram, they are on Twitter, they are on Facebook, they are YouTube, you name it. If there's a social media out there, they're gonna go and spread the word, and they're gonna show you great content. Then we have one team responsible for marketing. To run channel, you need money. We are a non-profit organization, So the only way we can run this Nishkam TV channel is through generous donations of our patrons and donors. So the marketing team is responsible for bringing sponsorships for our shows. They're responsible for doing fundraising and all the great work. Then we have a seventh team. This team is called Design Team. And the design team is responsible for creation of this logo. They are responsible for creation of our marketing material, the brochures, business cards. If we are shooting a film, what kind of colors, what kind of color clothes actors should be wearing it. So multiple things. So anybody who loves painting, anybody who loves costume, dresses, matching clothes, that's a team for them. So 7 teams, and it depends upon kid to join any team they're interested in. They can join 2 teams. One can be their primary team, which they're really passionate about. But if they think second team is out of zone, like with the parents who are attending this meeting, out of zone can be the kid is very great writer, but they may feel a little shy to learn, to go in front of a crowd, or they want to learn public speaking skills. This is a perfect place. The talent team is a perfect place then to come learn the art of public speaking. And the vice versa, the kids may be very interested, the kids are very good naturally talking in front of the crowds, but they don't, the writing is not one of their, maybe the best strength. They can be part of the content team. So you got my point. So first workshop, very excited, Argun. She took this initiative, and one day she asked, hey, we should do this talent workshop. That's the whole intent of Nishkam TV. It's a selfless work, and Argun will be leading this workshop today. So she's our youth rep for the talent team. And just wanted to add, every team has a lead, have a vice lead, and then we have youth reps. These are our youth reps who have graduated or they're in college. So this workshop will be conducted by Hargun Khanna. Hargun Khanna, thank you very much. Really appreciate. And I could see it's like a full room here. You are such a
packed.
Packed, great. All yours. Thank you very much, guys. Good.
You want to tell who is the co-lead and team lead for this team, Arba? Danveer sir? No?
It's okay.
So Danveer and I are putting on this workshop. Danveer is my co-lead
Danveer,
today.
you can come here.
Come say hi. But basically, I want to start. So we already kind of did some icebreakers.
Danveer, you stay here, Pita.
Stand or
You can
Come
stand
on
or
up.
you can sit here. It doesn't matter. You can stand behind her. So anybody else from the talent team?
Moved here, right now.
We have a few talented
Yeah, they can
members
come this
over here.
side.
Or,
Or-
it's okay. They're kind of
Okay.
like everywhere. So.
Anybody change
Okay,
it,
fine.
you better move.
All right. So we already
just
went
zone
around
her.
and kind of talked a little bit. We all introduced ourselves. But I just kind of want to start with, okay, like why are we here today? So we haven't really had any workshops talking about like how to do interviews, how to do public speaking and that kind of thing. So a lot of interviews, especially for like the places that we go to, like we had that film festival a while ago. It's like a lot of improv kind of stuff. Does anyone know what improv means? Yes.
It's like improv is like kind of like doing stuff from your brain.
Yep.
First thing that comes to your mind, you do.
Exactly, that's perfect. Like just thinking on the spot, kind of thinking whatever comes to your brain. So next weekend, as we all know, we have like a few events coming up, but especially next weekend, there's a big event. So we just kind of wanted to start like focusing on how to improvise, especially in interviews where like you don't even know who you're gonna be interviewing sometimes until just a few minutes before. So let's prepare as much as we can. So are there any specific kinds of things that you want to get out of today's workshop? Like, I know that's what I want to focus on, like how to improvise and how to think on the spot, and how to prepare yourself for that. But any like, or I'm gonna go around, I'll call on a few people, but like any worries you have, anything you wanna like learn how to do better or something like that. What you're nervous about, yeah. Yes. Speaking in front of public, like this kind of public, like talking to people or your friends, or.
No, not that kind of public, like other people.
Just
like Rob.
Yeah. All right. What else we got on the mind? Yes, back there.
Go to, put you on the audience? Or you go to audience go quickly.
We need to be activated quickly.
Okay.
Done
It's on
with.
audience.
That's, yeah, okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah, because it can, like, sometimes when you're talking, it can feel like things are just dragging on and on. Yeah, I see that. All right, what else? What else are we worried about? What else do we want to learn how to do better? Am I making you fall asleep? Okay. Down here. What do we want to get out of this?
Well, I think most importantly is improv, because I'm messing up on it.
That's true.
Yeah, and like, a lot of this stuff like only gets better with practice. Like you have to practice doing this. You have to like put yourself out there, volunteer to do interviews. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. What is the point of like even having interviews? So we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but like the point of even having interviews in our films is like you want to, it adds, in my opinion, it adds like perspective, it adds like different people's stories to the movie. Because if you only have like one person's story, it's gonna be a totally biased kind of story and a film.
To audience, get some
What else? Does anyone have any thoughts? You can also read it from the whiteboard too. Yeah. Getting to know a person. Yes, totally. Like when you talk to them. What do you mean by that?
Speak
Mm-hmm. Use your interview voice.
What they do, what their hobbies are, and what my favorite food is, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Like what kind of person they are? What do they have? Like what do they think about whatever we're having an interview about? What else? Why even bother incorporating interviews into movies? Yeah.
You know how people feel about it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and right, that's basically it. Just getting people's stories into your movie. So that kind of brings us to like.
Like everybody, someone dropped a maroon shawl. If you can find it, please meet her outside the Langar Hall. Maroon
Why
shawl.
even?
If someone found it, please find Benji outside Langar Hall. Thank you.
So what is our role as an interviewer? So you guys at some point, I'm hoping every single one of you will be doing interviews, right? Yes. So the point, your job as an interviewer is super important. You are like in charge of this entire conversation. Like you are the face of Nishgam TV at that point. And your job is to like make whoever you're interviewing feel super comfortable and like comfortable enough to want to share their stories and to want to talk to you. Basically, I think of interviews as like trying to become friends with whoever you're interviewing, so and like trying to hear what they think.
I think an important part of that is like also like staying interested in what they're saying yourself. Because if you're like bored and like you're not paying attention, like you can really tell. Like and sometimes it's just like small habits. Like my habit is putting my hand on my hip like this, and like
Tell.
yeah, and it looks like I'm not paying attention when I'm doing that, even if I am. But like the most important part is like being aware of like yourself and your surroundings and like making sure you're actually listening. Because like if you're just staring off into space, like not actually listening, then it's very easy to tell.
Yeah.
So you should just stay engaged.
Okay. So this presentation is mostly, first what we're gonna do is just talk about like what I find helpful in interviews and in improvising, and then like just kind of stuff to remember. And then the second half is gonna be we're actually going to interview each other, interview like other adults and such, and hopefully, and like we'll review it and discuss it. So, what helps me the most in interviews is like I don't really think of them as interviews when I'm like talking to people. I try to think of them. I kind of said it earlier, but like I'm just trying to like become friends with them. It's no pressure situation. I'm just trying to learn about this other person, and like it's just a regular conversation. And like in a regular conversation, you're gonna, build up with a little bit of small talk. Just ask like, how are you doing? Where are you from? like some background stuff like that. And when you're trying to, like get on someone's good side, you're gonna want to actively listen to them. So that is, there's like a lot of ways to actively listen. So this is like my like important part of the presentation. Okay, so there's a quite okay. So weird GIF on the or GIF, whatever we decide. Is it a GIF? Or
It's a GIF.
It's a GIF. Okay, like GIF, like gift. Okay. So body language is super important in a presentation. It's like the little things that you do, or but not presentation, interview, that like say more. Like your body says more than like even your words. So when you're sitting in an interview, there's like a difference between sitting like like this and all closed up and like just kind of shrinking away versus sitting like calmly, comfortably. So if you're sitting, like let's try practicing that. So like try to make like your whole body like as small as possible, and like cross your arms, cross your legs, and like kind of looking down. That versus sitting like legs uncrossed, palms open, making like eye contact, and when someone talks, you should like nod your head a little bit, like, oh yes, I understand. And then other kind of like little psychology, Psych 101 things are like when you're talking to someone you're interviewing and you're asking them a question, something you can do is mimic the words you're saying. So if I were to like ask them your question, so like, how is it? So where are you from, Danya?
I'm from Natick in Massachusetts.
Oh, you're from Natick in Massachusetts, and so tell me more about that. Like, so what I'm doing is, that wasn't the perfect example, but basically just using the same words that he said, it like subconsciously signals to like his brain and like the deepest parts of his brain that I don't hate him, that I like him, and that I want to get along with him. It makes you think that like that puts you on good terms. Let's see. Okay, so something that is that happens a lot in interviews is awkward silences. Like you ask a question, they answer the question, then you're like, oh my god, now what do I do? Sometimes you have to like play with the awkward silence and just kind of let it happen, embrace it a little bit, because when there's an awkward silence, you're gonna want to feel like you have to feel it. I have to say something, but the thing is, the other person will also feel that same way, and they might like accidentally spill a little story. They might say that like says a lot, because that's what we're trying to do with these interviews. We're trying to get our guests to tell us like really like stories about them and try to add their perspective. And right, so there's only like so much you can prepare for when you don't know who you're going to be interviewing, but this is kind of like the basics of that. So with that, I think we should do a little bit of brainstorming. So when let's see. Okay, so when we're having like interviews in like all these public settings, we don't usually know a lot about our people that we're interviewing, but we might know like a thing or two, like they're an author or they're like a politician. So you're gonna want to make the questions specific to the person that you're interviewing. So for example, if you're interviewing an author, you might ask like, oh, you're an author, so like what kind of books have you written? What's your favorite book? What's your opinion about like a certain book? And okay. So let's kind of go around. We'll talk about one or two of these like types of professionals, and like brainstorm some questions you might want to ask if that you're interviewing. So if you're interviewing like a musician, what are types of questions you might want to ask a musician? Okay, let's see. I saw your hand first.
What style of music you like? What type of music?
Mm-hmm. And make sure you speak up, okay? Behind you.
Do you want to bring kids maybe right there? Whatever.
Up to you.
We're going to bring them to the set also for interviews?
For this
For
part?
this example, you can pick maybe
Okay.
two kids at a time and just say, let's do the mock. For
Okay,
whatever.
we're gonna, okay.
If you're planning other way, that's fine too. I was just curious.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to go up there.
Okay, we have
So, we have 3, 4. Okay, so
No, you should bring people from your talent team first.
Encourage them.
raise your hand if you're on talent team.
Yeah, first round.
Okay. And if you're on talent team, want to go up there.
Who wants to go
See
next?
y'all. We'll have. Forget your name is.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, Samrat.
Samrat and.
Are you
okay. So which one do you want to do the
Ridhvir,
interview?
Ridhvir, come this side, Bacha. Ridhvir, you come that chair.
He's-
Which one do you want to do the interview?
with the chair also.
And give them
Move
a
that chair
mic.
out.
Ganvir, there is a mic in the back.
We don't need
No,
mic.
no mic, no mic, no mic.
Move the chair.
Let's do it.
Listen to what I say.
Okay, so I think we'll do this in 2 minutes. So first, let's do a little bit of brainstorming. Then we'll bring them to the interview.
Yes, if I can.
So yeah, you guys will go next, like when we're doing our example. So I'm gonna have you sit back down. I'm gonna have you. Yeah. Let's do some brainstorming first.
Yeah.
Just so we can get whatever brain juices flowing something. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about the musician. So if you were to interview a musician.
It's on the
You ask a question like,
Just kidding.
behind
Hold.
phone somewhere.
You have it. Close
I'll
friend.
mend that.
these, like rock, country,
Mm-hmm.
what do you like?
Yeah. There's like so many aspects. What else might you ask someone? Yeah.
What instrument do you play?
Yeah.
You need
Any
to
instrument
speak
that you
up.
play.
Little loud, beta.
That's why I thought if they're
right there?
right there, they will be much louder.
She's brainstorming.
Yeah. That's a good one.
What songs have you written?
Mm-hmm.
Or played?
Yeah.
I have an idea.
Loud.
voice.
So first, I think we should go like what instrument you play. Then we should go like smaller, like more specific questions.
That's a really good point. So I don't know if you guys can you repeat that for everybody?
So first, we should start from a less specific question, and then every time they answer a question, we go a little bit more specific.
Yeah. Yep. So start with like broader questions and like lead up to it. Like you had said. Can you give an example?
Like the first one could be what instrument they play.
Mm-hmm.
Talk louder.
Then maybe they say like, oh, I played the guitar.
Then you say, what's your favorite row?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I see your point, but that's the idea is really good there. So like starting with like open-ended questions and keeping it open-ended, but you get into more detail when you learn more about them. Okay, what do we got? You go.
This is like another like question about a question to a musician or group.
Mhm.
Like if you had to pick some other like someone else that wrote music, who would you pick? What type of
Who do you take inspiration from?
yeah?
Yeah. What inspires you? Like okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you like music?
Yeah. That's a really good one. Like
How
you
did
have
you
to.
get into music?
Right. Exactly. One more. We'll take one more. Yeah.
How many songs have you made?
Yeah. Talk about your songwriting. So those questions are good questions. But like what we want to do with like the way we phrase our questions is super important. You want to instead of saying like I'm just gonna pick on you for 1 second. But you said like what songs have you written, or like so maybe instead
How many?
or sorry you asked how many have you written. So instead of asking that, maybe phrase it like how do you write songs, or like what inspires you to write songs. Like so you have to give them room to kind of say a story. Instead of asking like a one-word answer kind of question. Does that make sense? So instead of asking like yes or no questions, you want to try to ask like
Like ask questions that'll like make them tell a story. Like
does that make
if you ask-
sense to you guys?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
ask what instrument do you play, then that's like a one-word answer. But if you ask how did you get into music, that you could like they tell a story. They say like, oh yeah, when I was younger, I did band and I did this instrument. So they answer the same question, but it creates a long story. It's like it's easier to like
Exactly.
answer.
What did he say? That's okay. They probably then you move on to the next
Move on to the
question.
next question.
It's okay. Alright, that they don't know like how many songs they're written. Okay, so yeah, so the point is we're gonna run into a lot of different kinds of people, and the way we phrase our questions is super important. So let's see. Oh, this is the slide. So did I hit everything? Yeah, so always just try to make, and if they tell you something and like you're like, oh, that sounds interesting, like they just start to tell me a story about like their first guitar, then ask them like, oh, you can literally say, can you tell me more about that? Or like ask them rather than saying something specifically. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm saying that over and over again, but like that's like really useful, especially when improvising. You want to let your guests do all the work. You don't really need to contribute. Okay, and let's move into the fun part, which is interviews. So let's pair up. I think so. Everyone pair up with the person sitting next to you. We'll do groups of 2. So you guys want to pair up? Is that okay? If they just have them pair up.
Make sure he doesn't hit that.
Yeah.
Better be careful. Okay, don't hit this.
Everyone will have something.
Does it have to be the person next to you?
I'd like it so you two are together. 2, and then there might be one group of 3, which is okay.
Everyone get into your groups.
Group time.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone has their partner. So let's see.
Oh, yeah.
But who you guys are pairing with?
Tell Hargun about Skype.
So
Whenever it is, we're.
okay, perfect. So at some point we will have to be doing Skype interviews. Okay. Yeah, I know, big deal.
FaceTime?
Basically like FaceTime. Oh my god. Skype is basically like FaceTime.
It's like FaceTime on your computer.
That's okay. One group of 3, but I think we have that here.
No, it's these 2, and then us 3. These 2, us 3.
It's on them.
So the point, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna have each of you like interview. I'm gonna have a couple of groups interview each other up here on the big stage. So I need you to like brainstorm types of questions. Like we were just discussing types of questions asked different like professionals, but now you kind of have to figure. I'll give you a topic, or actually you guys can choose a topic.
Now I think we should give them a topic because then it gives them more like.
Yeah. Okay. What?
You can just say like. So I think what we should do is like individually for each group. Like we tell them like you are an interviewer and you are like like someone like author, director, politician.
Can we switch interview?
Okay.
What if you finish
We should do it. We should do interviews, which they typically gonna do it in real life.
Okay.
Because we
Let's say so.
if we are going to 550th.
Okay.
Is everyone here?
Guys, listen.
Okay, so the topic is going to be, so today, as we all know, is 550th Gurpurab Guru Nanak Dev Ji, so that can be the topic. So I'm going to have like a couple of you interview up there. So spend like 10 minutes, you guys can brainstorm a list of questions. And then one of you will interview, one of you will be asking, answering the questions.
For 10 minutes.
Okay, so you have let's see. You can get started. Do you need
Put
like
on you.
paper
You
and?
need a pen. And your luck.
Preparing this beta.
He's hitting camera.
Okay.
Ask him to move him from this
Come here,
side.
Bachit. Come here. You come here. Come out. So Rajveer, come here. You're pairing up with him now. Come here. Careful.
What time?
Come here, Bachit. Okay, Rajveer, come in. Stop to him. What you said?
Don't move it too much because the flat.
God will answer for you. Let's talk about that. Who's gonna interview? Who's gonna answer? Come here, beta. Sit with him. Rajveer. So both of you, who's gonna interview? Who's gonna answer?
It's all on.
You wanna interview him?
Look at time, so.
Okay, you interview him. Then right?
So 307.
There's some like other.
Okay. We don't have a plan. Think about the questions. What you can ask. Next interview, you want Guru Nanak Dev Ji.
Yeah, we'll get to you around. Okay. Okay, we can do 2 minutes.
How can we brainstorm ideas if we have a dry pen?
Brainstorm idea means.
Let me change camera angle.
Okay, no, I know what we need a pen.
Keep on.
No,
Because it's shaking
one
like
at a time. Just
Okay, so I'm gonna choose a group randomly, okay?
Okay. I think start with the older one. Then at least they'll get idea what
Okay.
Armin and James, you guys are up first.
Okay, you have 2 more minutes.
2 minutes to repair.
You are the older one. You're gonna they look at you
We're
guys
the
and get
next
examples.
oldest
Okay?
group, Nancy.
Is there? Do you guys? Should we go around?
I'll make sure to you,
How did you?
It's on you.
How did it
And then you know the
How's it going?
Yeah, it's fine to think that we choose topics that it
What do you have so far?
what do you want to
Yeah, what do you need to celebrate? Yeah, so you want to try to ask questions like that's like, do you decide who's going to interview, who's going to answer?
Interact with
Okay.
him.
Ask questions.
Okay.
I'll ask questions.
Oh my god, that's exciting. Okay, and
And
so
then
you
we'll
want
have
to,
to answer.
yeah, so you want to like ask questions like specifically that like his story would be like different from somebody else's story. So like, I like what you said earlier. You're like, how did you celebrate the group, or what are you doing this year? Or yeah, or like, what does it mean to you? Like that kind of question. I like those. Okay, good. Add more. Okay, cool.
both of you know who's going
Does your friends celebrate this? Does this not even
You will answer and you are interviewing. Okay.
Okay. You guys know which one's
I have to
You're actually
Okay, we should bring first set.
Okay, what's your idea so far?
They need to think they are not here.
Don't
They will never get so much
ask
time.
open-ended questions. So you can say, have you heard about this dog? You can say,
Just like there. We need to move them.
did you learn? Like, what did you learn about Guru Nanak Dev Ji? Punjabi school. Ask open-ended questions.
This is just up there.
I just put it on the right. Now put it on them. Should I put on you? Should I put on you?
First move this.
I'll go. Move.
try to focus on listening to
You're covering the camera, so.
and like just oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm thinking of okay, try to focus on listening to everyone's like answers, and then if there's something he says that like you can ask
And
him.
then
What's the reason?
Okay?
we need to put this
Oh
on
my god, I'm so sorry. I know who you are.
I need to drink water.
Okay.
And it's for this
Okay, we're gonna have our first group go. So I was just giving them a little bit of advice, like, so I didn't give you a lot of time to prepare, right? But you know, like you might be in that situation in the future. So something,
most of the time.
yeah.
You just met the person, and then you have 2 minutes to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't they give you a sheet of
Sit over there.
Yeah.
No, I have never had that done once. Like I've done it twice today. So this is like a really hard situation. Hello. Okay. Hello. So this is a really hard situation to be in. So what I try to do is I like try to focus my attention on like whatever my guest is saying and try to like make up my questions based on that. So these two are gonna interview, right? And they're gonna be paying attention to each other and using like that story to make more questions. Okay, ready? Cameras are okay?
Yeah, they're on them.
Alright. So also don't forget to introduce yourself and the guest. Okay, cool.
Speak loud.
I'm James. I'm here with Harlan.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Harlan, what do you think the report is about?
I think it is about celebration of Guru Nanak Dev Ji coming to like being born, and celebrate. It's kind of like it's really important because that's how Sikh started. Like without Guru Nanak Dev Ji being born, we wouldn't be Sikhs.
Is there any specific way you celebrate with your family, or is
I always go to Gurdwara, and usually, there's usually a celebration on the day, and we also go on Sundays. We go on Sundays too, so usually there's a celebration on Sunday and on the day, like the real day of the week.
so do you ever compare yourself to Muslims?
Guys,
Maybe when I was little.
Guys,
Okay,
please
so
watch also because we'll get idea. Okay.
please watch also, or watch only.
Watch only, yeah. You're getting ready for the interview. Okay, please sit down.
So he just said like, oh, I go to Gurdwara.
Yeah.
So maybe like something about that.
So like, do you go to the bar often, or is it only on special occasions?
I go like every Sunday.
And do you attend any of the classes at the bar?
Yeah, house of school.
So what is Khalsa School about?
You're kind of going off topic. Where I would go from there. is I would
Everybody
say-
listen what they're talking
Yeah.
Where
about.
I would go from there is I would say, so what did you learn about Guru Nanak Dev Ji? On the day of the Guru. Yeah, what kind of activities does Khalsa school do?
Mm-hmm. You're doing a good job. Yeah. So
So like, what do you do on the day in Khalsa School of Gurkha?
Usually we do shuttles like that Guru Nanak Dev Ji wrote, and then we also have like today we had a speaker come, I think, and that was kind of like special. Like we got to some class, and then today we did say about Sikh history class instead of usually doing normal time. So that's something Guru Nanak Dev Ji.
perfect. Okay, wrap it up.
So thank you for your time today.
No problem.
Cool.
Is it easy? Answering also is not easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pressure on both sides. So like as nervous as you're feeling, Herman's also feeling like it's yeah. Okay. Who is volunteering? Oh, okay. You volunteer first.
Which one do you interview?
Who's doing what?
Who's doing the interview?
He's doing interview.
Oh wait, no.
Someone's in okay. So remember, introduce yourselves. Deep breath. Okay.
You want to help?
And so eye contact is also a little bit weird. At the beginning, what I do is I like look at the camera, I say, hi, I'm Harlan, blah, 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 and my guest. And then when I'm having the actual interview, I'll like look at my guest.
Guys, please don't do anything because the microphone is on this side, not there. So.
Oh, you guys aren't using the mic.
No, you don't need that.
Is that right? Oh, okay.
No, these kids, if they make any noise, we're gonna pick it up from here. So please be quiet.
So my name is Samra. So what's your name? So I'm gonna ask you some questions. What? I'm gonna ask you some questions. So what did Girl Crush to you?
To me, Girl Crush is the day when I'm going on KG at first crew.
Agam, speak up with you. We cannot hear you. Yes.
To me, Guru Purab is when Guru Nanak Dev Ji was born, and we celebrated like a really big celebration because he was one of our first guru, and his job was to spread love worldwide.
Look in his eyes also. He asked you questions.
So you guys are having a conversation with each other, not with,
Yeah.
you know. And
So-
loud. Yeah.
So how do you celebrate it?
How we celebrate it? So we celebrate it by reciting Jagdi Sahib and Kirtan Soila, and we pray to God to have a good day.
Yeah, so in order to do that, do you go to like gurdwaras or some occasional parties in order to do that?
We go to the Gurdwara, which is
Yeah. So have you learned about Gurdwara in Khalsa school?
yeah. So today we learned some stories about him, and we learned that it was today, 550th birthday. It's like a cool number because it's like kind of.
Yeah. Nice and round. Yeah. If you're good.
So thank you for your time.
Casey asked me questions.
Good job.
Alright, good
Good
job.
job, guys.
Nice job with like asking like more questions when he answered. Like you asked about Khalsa school, like, or what did you learn, or what do you know about it? I like that. Okay, next, come on up.
Let's bring some girls.
All right, bring the energy, bring a little like liveliness.
No.
And also,
Here is a
and also I think what I saw, they're not sitting, they should sit
Yeah.
kind of nicely, right?
That's a good
They're
point.
interviewing, yeah.
So when you guys watch these videos back, you're gonna see like one second. I'm gonna just
Girls
fix
go
this.
there.
It's already 3
Some
times.
of y'all are
20 more minutes.
See how she's sitting?
versus sitting like, you know, active, engaged. Remember I was talking about like positive, open body language. So you want to try to sit like that, and on the microphone, and like speak loudly. Okay? Go on up.
Ji beta.
Right. So you don't need some like
Good
sit down
posture
here.
Oh,
shows
okay,
interest in the person.
Absolutely. No.
So if you look like you're about to sleep, then people are gonna think that you're not paying attention to anything they're saying.
They're gonna be like, oh, they're not having. They find it boring, so why would I even care at all?
Yeah, bring energy like you're really talking to your friends at school. Don't just in your mind believe the cameras don't exist. Can you do that? Just believe camera doesn't exist and bring that energy. Okay, go ahead.
So today we have Smer Singh in our studio.
Yes, that's what we need.
Ooh,
Good
yeah.
job.
Now I'm like want to hear. Okay, well,
All right.
who is the new thing?
So today's Guru Purab, as you know. What do you think about it? What do you think about the celebrations happening?
I think that it's basically celebrating like your Nanak moving all over the places and spreading like also science into the world, like, and what he like, and like kind of what he thinks is like right.
Now, specifically in this Gurdwara, what do you think? Like, did you like the kirtan on all this? Like,
Yes, I like the show.
did you do any yourself?
Yes, I did actually.
Do you know the meaning? Like, what do you think? What do you think it expresses?
That's okay.
Well, you did the shoving yourself, right?
Wait, no. There's other people always with me.
This this light can go there.
So, you do Shabads. When was the first time you do Shabad?
I think it was earlier, like in year kindergarten. Yeah.
Did you do any Shabads related to Guru Nanak? This
This, I don't think I did anything but Aarti from this year.
Don't touch.
So, your first Shabad.
Related to Guru Nanak.
Alright, so thank you for your time.
Perfect.
I think.
Wow, that was a really
Okay,
good
so I
one.
think,
Hey, come
As,
back.
Give your feedback to them.
Yeah, so
So it
Yeah.
doesn't
as a person answer the question.
you guys, this is useful for everyone in the room.
Listen, guys, he's giving the feedback.
As a person answering the questions, you also have to go more in depth. Because like, if he asked you, like, what was your first Shabad? If you just said like, oh yeah, it was in kindergarten. You should like go into depth. Like, you can say, oh yeah, the first Shabad I learned, I remember I was in kindergarten and I went to Khalsa school and we learned this Shabad. I learned Mohina Bisado and that first Shabad, and then I remember we sang it as a class, and you have like a whole story with it. Like a lot of times you can't control what the interviewee says, but it's like you should push them to like tell a story, because that makes it more interesting and more engaging.
I think you did a good job, like trying to get him to like say more stories.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Yeah, cause like that's so true. Like you really cannot control like what the interviewee is gonna say. All you can do is like try to push them more and more. You really nailed that, I think. And great energy, seriously. Yeah.
What were you saying, Kavita? You guys are in this group?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna interview him.
Okay. So
Okay.
they were the group of three. Okay.
Ah,
You should
gotcha.
bring those young girls.
After this,
Yeah,
since he's here.
ladies, you're up next.
Yeah, you girls are ready next.
Okay.
Take and put it on.
What's up?
Hey, do not step on that.
Oh, that's robotics.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I was adjusted.
It's like $10,000 for the video and I'm good.
Okay. Ready?
Yep. Yes.
I don't- yeah.
My name is Samir Singh, and we have right now here is Jasveer Singh. What is your favorite sake?
So my favorite sake is when Guru Nanak Dev Ji was grazing. Guru Nanak Dev Ji's cows were grazing on the grass, and he had to take a rest, so he slept, and then a cobra came up and shed its skin to like cover him from the sun.
Don't
Do you
touch
think
the
that? Do you think that's a good sake?
I think
That's fine.
yeah, I mean giving yourself shade under its
Yeah. What do you do during Gurdwara on Gurpur?
So this specific time or today, normal classes are like listening to Kirtan and Shabad, but then like eat longer and like here.
Are there any particular foods during Gurpur?
Jalebi, I'll say.
Yeah.
Jalebi, gulab jamun, and like other sweets.
Do you play any Shabads on Gurpur?
Well, yeah, but today we didn't get a chance. But I did arty.
You were singing along?
Yeah, I was singing along in arty.
What do you like most about Gurpur?
I like the sweets and.
Guys, bring some energy. Bring it up.
So I like the sweets and
Nice.
then I also like well the fun, the exotic fun of like
Yeah.
Good.
yeah.
How did you know about Gurpur?
So I got to know about Gurpur when I was first in like, kindergarten, preschool, and Khalsa school, and they were like talking about the first guru is Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and he started this whole process of like Sikhi and like started like saying join me in Sikhi.
Well, is it like he wasn't like recruiting saying join me? He was just giving this straight facts.
Yeah, he was like, yeah. Well, one, the Gurdwara is the place to worship God. So like, you would go in the Diwan Hall, listen to Gurbani. So like, and the Gurbani is kind of related to Gurpurab, like Guru Nanak.
What do you do in the Gurdwara in in general?
So I come, like take a snack too. I wash my hands. I go upstairs, like I said, and go to my classroom for kirtan. So each class is actually 1 hour, and once kirtan is done, you get like 2 minutes to eat, go to your next class, and then it goes to from Punjabi class to Sikh history. And once you're done with Sikh history, you eat longer, and then you can do whatever, but not like whatever you want. Just like you stay inside, don't go outside. It's cold out.
Try to take it back to the main topic and try to wrap it. Yeah.
Like, do you basically after you're done with Sikh history, do you go back to the Diwan Hall and start listening to Shabad?
Well, in the longer hall, I mean, I hear it from the speakers, but I eat longer time.
Good job.
Okay, so say thanks.
Thanks for coming with us this year.
So,
Okay.
This is really good.
one really important thing
So
is
I was watching on just to give you my comments. I think it was very interesting discussion. You guys are very comfortable. Like if you have memorized your question, obviously it will be look much natural. But this is excellent. I
That
think
was really
the
good. Yeah.
back and forth like a ping pong, it was coming out pretty good. You were stopping, he's asking. So this is a good example, guys. Just observe them, and if you have relevant questions in mind, if you have done little preparation, this interview could have been a very professional. Good job.
that was really good. I think one thing you could have done better though was like when he goes like off topic, because the starting topic was good food, but then it ended on the same Kirtan and eating lunge. So like I think
that's how it always ends.
I think like yeah, it is how it ends.
Okay, guys, we only have 10 minutes, so we need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And we are doing this live, so the parents who are in this room, encourage your kids to watch it. The only way to learn by doing is watching it and then giving them a feedback.
I'll post some of the notes on the SharePoint as well.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
you
good.
need to like work on
Okay,
reeling
let's-
them in to like really get focus on the topic. That
Okay,
But, like,
who's
really
next?
great actors at something, seriously.
Okay, girls.
That is the hardest thing.
Good job.
Good job.
Yeah, very nice. So comfortable. Really.
Guys, careful, beta.
Nobody move. Okay.
Chalo. Just guys, someone.
Guys, we are still live.
Okay.
Live.
And is this the last group?
Yeah, this is the last group.
Come on out. Hey, there's someone trying to walk behind you. Move forward.
हाँ, रिद्धि रख गया जो बेटा. हाँ. Careful with the Harman. Careful with the
Oh, okay. And then you guys, right? Yeah. Okay, so 2 more.
And you guys need to do better than them, okay, girls?
Oh, yeah.
So speak loud, okay? Bring that energy.
Okay, so two more.
Two more, yeah.
Okay. Okay, you guys ready? Introduce yourselves. Alright, and get
There's 3 more.
Loud. We can't hear you.
Okay.
Oh yeah. This is like shouting voice time.
This is shouting,
The
yeah.
mic is over there. You guys.
My name is Gregor. My name is Pranav. Do you know when you're going on pictures? Where
You should ask her name also. We don't know her name.
She introduced, yeah, you introduced her, but you can say like, hey, my name is Anas, this is, okay?
My name is Pranav. My name is Gregor. Do you know when Gernonic is? What's your favorite Saki?
So maybe try asking her more questions that are like, what do you think about something? So you're asking her about the, try to focus more on, because the interview is more about like the group work. So like other teams are asking more open-ended questions, right? Like what's going on today, or how do you celebrate the group work? Like do you know what I mean by that? Does that make sense?
You want her to tell a story. You're not even giving her a quiz.
It's not a pop quiz. How many Udasis? No. Does that make
If you want to talk
sense?
about the Udasis, you can say, so what do you know about Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Udasis? That's a
Yeah,
good
that's a good way to do it. That. Yeah. It could be anything. You can just So she seems like she's hesitating a little bit, right? So your job is to make sure she feels comfortable sharing stuff. So
Guys,
when you
listen.
know about or
That's
maybe
a
you can
tough
share
interview.
something that you know about the Udasis, and then she can. You went on the second one.
What do you on the profile? What do you what do you do to solve the problem?
Okay. What do you do on the group work? Okay. And maybe one more question? Yeah? That's Oh, that's good. Alright. Wrap it up. Say thanks for coming for my
I think what we should do, we should give every team 2 minutes, otherwise,
Yeah,
they have to define
yeah.
that. I think, is Ridhvir done?
No.
And
So
we
we have
have
another-
here.
We need to have another group, no?
Two more.
So let's, 2 more groups, let's wrap up those groups. So,
आज ऋत्विर आ रहे बेटा ऋत्विर and सिमरन come on.
good job guys, keep practicing it.
Are we full for time?
And bring your energy loud, okay?
Okay.
You guys had
2-minute
langar?
interview, okay?
You already had langar? Langar bring energy, so bring it.
Hello, I'm Timrit Singh, and
Nice.
thanks for joining me. So, what do you think about this special day in our history?
It's like really nice. And we have like the birthday of the founder of our religion.
How do you celebrate this day?
Go to Gurdwara, like do something special.
Do you do any activities here in the Gurdwara
Activities.
that that will tell you like about what happens in this day?
Not really.
What did you know about this day before today?
That it was
Loud.
What are the 3 golden rules? Like, what do you know about them?
They're like to share what you're in a pencil.
Who helped you learn about this?
My mom.
That was a good question. And you can wrap it up on interview.
Thank you for being here with me.
Good
Alright,
job.
good.
Good job guys, this was really good.
That one was
Yeah.
nice.
Very
Very
good.
Both of you, very nice.
Very natural, very
And
confident.
Yeah.
last but not least,
Argo, your team has good talent.
yeah, born with it. They're all born
Exactly,
with
they're born with it.
Good answer, dear.
it. All right, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, Okay. Make sure you're sitting up straight.
And bring energy.
Yeah. All right. This is you gotta really like kick this. This is the last one. You're gonna send it, right?
Come on.
Loud.
Smile. Looks like you want to fall asleep.
Okay. Go.
Hello, my name is Rajin and what is yours? I'm just gonna ask.
No moving of legs because as I'm watching you on TV. It's distracting. So be straight. Slow down, okay?
And put more
Let's-
energy to it.
Yeah. Let's bring it one more time. Start it. Action.
My name is Roger Singh and what is yours? BUC. I'm just gonna ask you some questions about curriculum. Okay. Why do you celebrate your last birthday? Because he is the first youth. It is his 505 years old. How do you celebrate your last birthday? Like, what do you do to celebrate? You go to Canada and listen to sugar. Have you done anything?
Keep it going. Keep it going.
You can talk something else.
So he's like, what did he say to you just now?
So, what do you say?
What did you eat for lunch today?
Yeah. It doesn't always have to be a super serious
What do you
question.
do in life?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I eat food. And what, like, food are you? Roti, butter, and
The Shahi paneer has cashews. I know.
do you have any of it? I had the peanut and the roti. Have you helped around?
Wrap it up.
Not that much. Thank you for coming here.
Alright.
So you guys can conclude both of you. Tanvir, phone to here. You're live.
Yeah. Alive? My dad's here.
Okay, so great job overall with the interviews, guys. So like parting thoughts. I think everyone did like really good job. The energy is something that like you are like the first few sentences kind of set the tone, right? So you have to really be loud and outdoor voice type
is on that. This is on that.
energy. What are like some good?
You guys did a really
I'm
good
already
job. Like, I think you guys did a really good job with like
Move
thinking
this light
of
away.
questions.
This is
And
not even needed.
while like two pieces of feedback I have is one thing everyone can work on is being louder, because most of the time I'm sitting right here and I couldn't hear you guys. And another thing you guys like just in general could work on is asking like better questions, because like there's a difference in a good question and like a great question. Because a good question is like something that your interviewee can like respond with and they're like interested in, and something that you can like get out of it. But a great question is like something that lets the interviewee like tell a story and like really give their full input on. 'Cause, like if I just ask like what's your favorite sake, then that's like a one-word answer. You get the interview's input and that's all. But if you ask like
What's it about?
like what's that sake about? What does it mean to you? Like what did you learn from this sake? Is there anything that everyone else should take away from this? Like that's like you have to expand on other people's ideas, and then it like makes like an interesting conversation.
Right, exactly. I couldn't have said it better. Like you want to have a conversation. That's a key word there. And you can only have that if you're asking questions that lead to a conversation, not like how many or like what did you eat for langar. Like you have to ask like what does langar mean to you. You have to ask like opinion questions, how questions, why questions.
Yeah, like you know why Guruji created langar. What is the purpose of langar? What is the meaning behind it? Like that like in-depth questions, not like face level questions.
And you guys like all did a good
good job.
good job. And like it's only gonna get better with practice, which we're all going to do at all of our interviews coming up. So Good job. Good workshop today, guys. I think successful first workshop.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
And thank you again, talent team, Hargun Khanna, Danveer Singh, Kiran Bagga. She's sick today, so she can't attend you, including your team
And
advisors,
Manandi did a lot
Mohita
behind the
Kar,
scenes.
who's your team advisor, and Suki Singh. They are not here today, but thank you very much. We look forward to our next workshop. Great.